Hello, hello, and welcome to the newest episode of The Lab. I'm Kel, and we're here with Cody. Say hi, Cody.
Hi. How's it going?
Hey. Going good. Today we're talking about a couple different things, but our highlight topic, I suppose, is intensity, which we'll get to later in the episode. But
Yes.
first, how are you doing today?
Doing pretty good. I think nothing too crazy out of the norm. Just my usual life, anxious self
Yeah,
and trying to get through days to, not be such a stress case. But yeah, I just
yeah.
basically I'm
Hey,
in a fat loss phase right now and wait until surgery and then we'll go from there. Until then, like I don't really see much else. But yeah, how about you?
I'm doing all right. I am definitely feeling this prep final. It is in full force. Like, I very much feel like I am depleted, which is a little concerning just because we still have so long to go. But that's okay. I will tough it out. It's just
Got
getting back
this.
into the swing of suffer, suffer, and it'll be okay.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely a lot colder than I was before and hungrier. So
Yeah.
'tis life.
At least it's summertime and not like
It's
winter where you're absolutely freezing. So that's the
true.
plus side. But you're also doing like a lot of side projects, I feel like, adding to the fatigue, whereas you probably wouldn't be feeling it as much, but you've got so much going on. Like, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely some of this is brought on ourselves, but luckily, we had our trial date with the puppy is over, so we everything went great. Everything is fine. We're gonna get the puppy again, but we can't have three dogs at our house currently, so we are gonna wait until we move, and then we're gonna get her back. But that's at least one big thing off my plate.
Hey, well, at least it's like a temporary, little relief period, but it's not like we're not getting the puppy. It's just you get to like skip some of the late nights, puppy crying and
And needle teeth. That's what I've discovered is
uh,
the worst part of puppying
yeah,
is
it's
the
true.
needle teeth.
Well, that'll still be around by the time you get it back. Probably
True.
takes a second.
You I have to tell this really embarrassing story real quick and then we can move on. But when we had the puppy over the weekend, this is our last weekend with her for right now. Um and I got up at 4:30 because that's the time she liked to wake up. And I was sitting on the couch and I had just made my coffee and breakfast. Um, and she was just wouldn't stop biting me, and so I laid down and she started attacking my hair and like just pulling it from the roots, I felt like. And
Oh my gosh.
I just laid on the couch like crying because I was so annoyed and just so frustrated, but like you can't really do anything about that. I could have put her in her kennel, but she would have woke up all of our neighbors at 4 a.m. And I was trying to get Maddie some sleep. It was
Oh
just a
man.
nightmare, and I'm just very happy that won't be this weekend.
Like you actually get some sleep. Yeah.
Right? Yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah, so that's kind of life right now.
Well,
Um, what are you excited about in these current events? It's not like we have a minimum amount to talk about
oh
or
my gosh.
to cover.
Yeah, the current events I feel are so, man, overwhelming. The other week, Trump almost got assassinated. This week, Biden drops out of the race, and most likely, we're gonna have Harris as the nomination, Democratic nominee, uh, and
Mm-hmm.
things just they change quickly. Just I as far as and I've seen so Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. I tend to get, I mean, not all my news sources from it, but it's where you tend to get things when they're unfolding live. It's just the quickest way. It's basically the world's chat room. But of course, it can be, you can go down some rabbit holes. It could be a place where there's so many conspiracy theories on both sides of the spectrum. usually the truth is found like somewhere in the middle, but like holy shit, there's so many conspiracies going around, especially with the whole like Joe Biden situation. There's theories that he's I mean, some people think he's already dead. uh some people think he's dying, which I mean, he's old, so they're not wrong, but I don't know
I
how
mean, we
soon.
all are. So
Yeah, technically we're
yeah,
all dying. He's probably dying
yeah.
sooner, but so essentially some people are like, well, wait for him to resign completely from the presidency that's coming up next or whatever. Or there's more theories that they're going to kill him because apparently they can't put uh, Harris's name on the ballot in some states unless Biden dies. So, like, there's a lot floating around. It's kind of entertaining slash depressing at the same time. But overall, I think, all we know is that Biden has dropped out. Harris has, most likely stepped in, and now we're waiting to see if if she can
For
beat
her
Trump
VP.
or not. Yeah. So, what are your thoughts on everything?
I mean, I think in I, I don't know if it's just assumptions that are going around the news, but I thought they had she's officially the nominee, but I could be wrong. But I am very pro that because I didn't love Joe Biden because he's
Yeah.
a million years old and dying. But I have a little hope. I'm not gonna lie, and it kind of feels nice because I haven't had very much hope through this election cycle. I felt like I don't know necessarily. I don't think she's going to bring a ton of change. I think she is younger, which I'm excited about, and I'm excited to get some fresh blood, I guess, in the um, political arena. I suppose I heard some crazy statistic the other day that it's the first time in 48 years that there hasn't been a Bush, Biden, or Clinton on the ballot, on the
Wow.
presidential ballot somewhere, which is kind of insane.
That
And we
is.
say that we're not ran by an oligarch, but whatever. Um, but that's kind of how I'm feeling about it. I don't like to get my hopes up when it comes to politics. I'm sure most of our viewership is on that side of the train as well. But I do have a little bit of hope. I'm not going to lie.
No. I think it's so
She's a
hard to.
Californian. Are you excited about that?
I mean, I don't really care, but there's I think it's just like it with politics. It's so hard to know even the truth of anything. I think,
Oh, exactly.
someone who is brought up in religion and believing one thing you thought for certain for so long and having that just kind of like swept out from under you, I'm more likely to question everything, whether it's, the right or the left or whatever. Um, do I swing to the left? Of course. But like, I don't trust anybody. Like, I don't trust anyone from either side. Like, everyone has their agendas and shit behind the scenes that no one knows about, and all these like shit that's probably not good. But I would like to side with the people who are not trying to enforce their religious beliefs on me. So that's where we go to the left,
That's
But
It's fair. I'm not. I am definitely in the same boat as you. I don't believe we ever know what's really going on, um, which is why I am moving to the woods to be a critter, and um, yeah. So I kind of have some disenchantment with everything. I think like a lot of people of our generation. But I am, and this is a hard segue, but I think you're ready for it too. I am very excited about the Olympics, and it has made me slightly patriotic because of the
just because of the
Olympics.
Olympics.
I just
I
have fun
mean,
watching the sports people, you know. I like watching it and rooting for them.
yeah, the funny part is, I remember watching the Olympics when I was. It's different watching the Olympics as a kid than as an adult. As a kid, you have this like, wow, I could do that someday. As an adult, you're like,
Yeah.
kids, these kids are killing it. and I'm old and
Mhm.
falling apart now. So there's no hope for me, but good job, kids. Like it's
Yeah.
different.
I
Um,
Yeah, I would agree, but I think it's really fun, especially because I feel like the Olympics highlights a lot of sports that don't get their heyday. Like people who are track and field athletes, like probably track and field people know who they are, but it's just like not everybody knows who they are. So I think it feels cool to have these like freak athletes on like a super huge stage and like kind of get their laurels finally. And I always love seeing that.
yeah, and some of the sports are real weird. But then
Yeah.
it's like they throw in a little bit more modern stuff in there, and you're like, who decided that was what they were going to put in the Olympics? And it's like they have. We'll go over it. Spoiler alert: breakdancing
Yeah,
is in the Olympics this year. But how do they choose? We're going to do breakdancing, but then we're going to keep in like curling. It's like or these weird like Roman Empire type like archery. Just like
or
uh
like the hammer, like who, like I don't even really know what that is. Is it? I
I
picture someone throwing Thor's hammer is what I picture, but I don't
isn't
really
it
know if
like
that's what that is.
hammer throw like on Matilda where like the trench bull like throws the is
Oh, I thought
or
that
is
was
that
the
like
shot put.
shot put? Yeah, okay, never mind. But I feel like there's a hammer throw in there
I
somewhere.
don't
I
know.
don't know. Yeah, this is we don't know because the sports are so
Um,
fucking weird.
yeah. You know the other thing that I think is really weird about the Olympics is that the games actually start before the opening ceremonies. Like I was watching rugby right during lunch, right before I jumped on, and
Huh.
I watched like 4 or 5 games. Like it
Huh.
was, which it is. I think the first or no, second set of Summer Olympics that is rugby was in there, so that was fun.
I guess it's probably those sports that kind of there's like more games involved. They're like, oh gosh, we gotta get this started in order
Bracketed.
to, yeah, and like so it can end on time. I'm assuming that might be the
Okay, that
reasoning.
makes more sense.
So maybe there's just
Or maybe it's team sports or something. Or
yeah,
like
like did soccer already start or I
I
don't
don't.
know.
I don't. This is a secret, but I don't like soccer, so I don't.
I love soccer, but like you know what? I love sports, but I really struggle to watch them. Basketball is pretty much the only sport
Mm.
that I can like keep my attention. Soccer can a little bit, but it's just so far in between like actually scoring. Sometimes I'm just like, come on. And then football, I feel like stops every 2 seconds, and you're just like, this is why people need snacks, is because you're just like so bored. but
Well, see, this is why you need to watch rugby or hockey because it's always it's much more exciting. Things are
yeah,
happening a lot faster.
that's true. More violence. There's always more entertainment with violence.
Yeah,
So
always more violence. Yeah, just throw in some punches.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, I want to. So when are they going to put bodybuilding in the Olympics? If there's breakdancing, like I guess they would have to allow like
I
PEDs
feel like
though.
it's very Greco-Roman. Yeah, I don't think that
Yeah,
would be the issue. I think, but
yeah, they
the
would have to do
drugs.
natural bodybuilding and yeah. But there's enhanced games now, right?
Well,
Or
and
there's
then
going to be.
there's going to be, I believe, and I think that is going to be insane.
It's going to take off more, kind of like how like open bodybuilding is way bigger than natural bodybuilding. Like you don't even hear about natural
Right.
bodybuilding unless you're already into it. Whereas like open bodybuilding, you got the Olympia, and there's people that don't even bodybuild that love to watch the Olympia or stuff like that. So it's like I can imagine that the enhanced Olympics. I mean, I would find it quite entertaining because there's no cheating. There's not this dark cloud that's like you're trying to pinpoint. Like, did that guy cheat? And so when you just open
Mhm.
it up, it is more fair. I feel like because it's like whatever you got to do.
Do
Even
what you
playing
want to
field.
do. Try
Yeah.
your, yeah. I agree, and but I do think it will change how people view sports because I think people are unaware of other sports that use PEDs. It's not just fucking
Oh,
bodybuilding. Like
it's all of
a
them.
lot of a lot of sports, if not all of them, and it's a lot more widespread than people
Yeah.
understand, I think.
And guess what? They're already using them, and they're in the Olympics because
They're just hiding now.
yeah, they are really good at getting past testing and stuff like that. They are literal doctors who like have underground jobs of helping people pass tests. I mean, if you've watched the Lance Armstrong documentary, the lengths they go to avoid detection while doping and stuff is pretty crazy. It's you would think it was some kind of conspiracy theory until you find out it's true. So it's like you already know that they're using it in the Olympics, and I think that's why they're like, let's just see what happens. We'll do enhanced games, and yeah, it's gonna get interesting.
Yeah, I think so. Do you want to go through some of these crazy sports? Yeah.
Yeah, let's. Okay, so the Olympic sports this year at the 2024 Games in Paris. Are you ready for them? Okay.
Well, I think we should also have commentary. So if we get a really good one, we have to talk about
it. Oh, of course. Can't help ourselves. All right. So let's start off with the A's. So we have archery, artistic gymnastics men, artistic gymnastics women, athletics discus. Is that like frisbee?
It's the flat one that looks like a frisbee, but it's really heavy. My soon-to-be sister-in-law was a discus thrower and shot put thrower.
Okay, cool. That's I want them to have artistic discus. Like you just play, you have tricks and you do gymnastics with discs. Okay, moving on. We have artistic swimming. So I'm assuming that's like synchronized swimming,
I would imagine,
which is athletic sprints. So
is that only for women or do they have men too?
I've only seen women.
I don't know,
but they could have men. Why isn't it co-ed? Like you don't need to separate genders for artistic swimming. It's like cheerleading in water.
Yeah.
Oh boy. And then we have athletic sprints. So I'm assuming that's just sprinting, shot put, triple jump, athletics race walk. I laugh at that, and I shouldn't, but I do. Athletics pole vault, middle long distance, marathon, long jump, hurdles, javelin.
While we're in all these track and fields, I know you were a runner. Did you do track and field or?
We didn't have
kind of stuff when you were a kid.
No, so we didn't have track and field at my school. We had like, we used to have this thing where it was like once a year we would run this race. It was like volunteer, the kids. It was like a mile or something. And I'd always volunteer for that just for the sole purpose of I got out of class if I did. So that was like the only real like track and field experience I had as a kid. But we ran a lot in soccer. So after soccer was over, I needed, something. So that's where running came into play. But I just did 5Ks and half marathons. I was training for a marathon at one point, but I never quite made it, and I never will because my knee would just fall off at that point. But anyways, so then we have high jump, hammer. This is I don't know.
I'm gonna Google it while you're going through it.
All right,
come back.
And then we have badminton, which I love badminton. I love playing it. It's gonna be my next thing when I retire from bodybuilding. My next thing is going to pursue being a professional badminton player. So watch out, guys.
I mean, pickleball is all out there.
That's true.
And I feel like it's
really popular.
Similar vibes.
True.
I did find out what the hammer throw is.
Okay.
True. And a little less like, never mind. So the hammer is that big heavy ball on the chain. So it looks like a medieval weapon kind of, and you spin around and throw it. So you were thinking correctly with
okay.
You were thinking correctly, yeah.
It's kind of how she threw the girl with the pigtails, like she was holding her by the pigtail. Like, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, love it. Matilda. This is how we learn about Olympic sports as children in the 90s. Okay, so then we have basketball. basketball three times three, beach volleyball, boxing, breaking, aka break dancing. That is the newest addition to the Olympics. I don't know how do we
How do you
decide
think
these
they're going to
things?
judge that?
I have no idea. They're like
Also,
that
how
was
are they going to
good.
judge that? I feel like it's well.
Well, I guess
Also, I would
they
imagine because it, oh, don't you think like I guess maybe kind of like gymnastics, like,
yeah.
but do they have standards like that?
I think so. I think
I guess they have to.
it's just a culture we're probably not familiar with. Just like people aren't familiar with bodybuilding, like they have their ways where they hold
True.
competition and they judge based off certain things. We're just ignorant outside of our little bubbles. Uh, this
True.
is my favorite personally. Canoe slalom. Think I think that's probably raft. You're like going down a river or some shit.
I think
But
because I watched it before, so it's like like the like ski slalom, like
mhm.
when they go in and out through those poles. I think that's what it is,
Okay, like for
like an
some
obstacle
reason,
course, not an obstacle course, but like zigzagging.
yeah, yeah, okay. I'm just like I feel like that is a summer version of a bobsled or some shit, but it's definitely not. So then we have canoe sprint. We have BMX freestyle, mountain bike, road cycling, cycling track, diving, equestrian. How did you dressage?
Dressage.
Dressage.
Hmm.
Then we
My
have
mom was a horse girl, so I know
okay.
some
That's how you know
lingo.
these things. Equestrian eventing. Uh, okay.
Jumping, maybe, I don't know.
Jumping is the one that's next. I don't know what eventing is though.
Oh, me neither.
Then we have fencing. Then we have football, aka soccer, not American football, just actual football. Golf, handball, hockey, judo, modern pen penthal pentathlon. I know I don't know how to say that, but it's like the running and like the horse shit and like it's the different thing.
The
Yeah,
shooting thing where you run
yeah,
and shoot and
yeah.
ride a horse.
How? Yeah.
It's like the Wild West comes to the Olympics. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. We have rhythm gymnastics, rowing, rugby, sailing, kite sailing. Are you fucking kidding me? I mean, I get it because, like, yeah, but okay. We have shooting indoor, skateboarding park, skateboard street, climbing boulder. There's a lot of X Games sports in here, if you
Oh,
notice.
have you watched any of the climbing, the speed climbing specifically?
Yes, so that used to
That
be an
shit is
X Games
insane.
thing. It is. So
Yeah.
I used to watch it when it was on the X Games, and just like how fast they climb up those walls, and then it disappeared from the X Games, but now it's in the Olympics. So cool. Um, I feel like X Games just kind of became obsolete once they put skateboarding in the Olympics because they're like no one cares about the X Games anymore. Just kidding. Don't
No.
murder me, skateboarders and all that stuff. So we have surfing that is in the Olympics too, so that's cool.
Oh wait, time out, time
Volleyball.
out.
Uh-huh.
Well, hold on one second. Sorry. Did you see where the surfing is taking place? I'm sorry I keep interrupting you, but I have all kinds
No,
of fun facts.
no. Where is
So
it?
the surfing thing is happening in French Polynesia. So it's
Mhm.
basically like I think near Hawaii. Like they're nowhere near France, but it's because it's in French Polynesia, they're allowed to be there. But all the athletes, I believe, except for the Americans, are staying like on a cruise ship. I believe like their
Wow,
hotel is like a floating hotel, and
that's
that kind of
interesting.
and the Olympic Village is in that boat. So like
Okay,
they still get the experience, but it's like
it's far away.
the tropical version.
Yeah, it's like
The Olympics spring break. I don't know.
seriously. Well, that's interesting. Okay, volleyball, triathlon, table tennis, tennis, shooting outdoor versus indoor. We have to have both. I don't know why, but we do. Taekwondo, swimming, gymnastics, trampoline, water polo, weightlifting, wrestling, uh, badminton pairs, sitting volleyball, uh, sitting goal
Are
ball.
these like Paralympics?
Yeah.
Or
Para archery.
okay.
I don't know how to say this one, but it's something to do with cycling. Uh, Paracycling, para athletics, blind football, and that's it. Blind football, though.
Sounds hard.
Yeah. How do you catch the ball?
Do you think it's
Sorry.
quiet?
No, they're not
Would
deaf.
would it have to be like? No,
They
I
have
meant
to
like,
be.
is it like no, like the culture of it? Like, do you think they play it like golf because so they can hear like where the balls are?
I don't know. I feel like that's something to research for sure. Blind football. Maybe it's like
Wow.
Marco Polo, and they're like Marco, and then like throw the ball. I don't know. I'm getting canceled for this.
I don't know. Yeah, who knows? Or team.
Maybe
Okay,
we'll
here
have
I got
to.
a little. I got a blurb. You ready?
Okay.
Blind football teams are made up of 4 outfield players and 1 goalkeeper. Matches are divided into 2 20-minute halves, played on a pitch measuring 40 by 20 meters. Boards run down both sidelines to keep the ball within the field of play.
Okay.
It's surrounded by boards, so essentially they have like boards like a hockey,
Or like indoor
like
soccer.
hockey boards. Yeah, like indoor soccer. Sorry, So teams may also use one guide who is positioned off field to play, an assistant directing players. The ball is equipped with a noise-making device to allow players to locate it by sound.
Hmm.
There you go.
Okay.
Learn something
Good to
new.
know. Yeah. Sweet. Well, I would be really bad at that sport, but
Yeah,
yeah.
and I think I've mentioned before I'm in watching a lot of Survivor right now, and right now this season I'm watching right now has a Paralympian in it, and she's just a beast at the challenges. She's missing a leg, and she was a soccer player and just is an amazing. She was a runner, I think, is what she went for to the Olympics for after
Yeah.
she lost
Awesome.
her leg. It's very
Crazy.
cool, very interesting.
Very cool. Yeah. Well, on that note, as
Wait,
intense
I
as
have
these
one more
sports
question.
are. Okay. What's the question?
One more question, and then we can segue. If you could pick any of those sports to be amazing at and make it the U.S. Olympic team, which one would you pick?
I'd have to go with skateboarding. I'm still, skateboarder at heart who is now just old and a poser. But I used to love skateboarding, so I would choose that. How about you?
Yeah, I love it. I don't know. I'm tempted to take something like a team sport because I think it would be a lot more fun to do like the Olympic Village with like a team. And I've been really obsessed with watching Alana Marr, which is a U.S. rugby lady, and she just looks like she's having so much fun.
That's true.
But I also think it would be very cool to be good at like wrestling or something like super, like not useful, but like that's like a cool.
Maybe like
skill to have. I don't know.
taekwondo or judo. Yeah.
Taekwondo or judo
Yeah.
or like one
Kick
of those like
someone's
fighting
ass.
things would be fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like Greco-Roman wrestling might be kind of fun. I don't know. It's just something a little different, I guess.
Yeah. I think my runner up would probably be basketball. So that's more on the team sport side of things, but I'm short, so can't even dream about that one.
I have the only basketball jersey I own is Michael Jordan's USA Dream Team jersey.
I mean, it's a good one.
It's a good one to have. But yes, so let's segue over into these intense athletes and how they got where they are. I'm assuming by being intense.
With some intensity. Everything, even badminton, there is a level of intensity that is required in order to get where you need to get. And the same thing goes for fitness. So I think intensity is one of the most misunderstood parts of fitness, or it's one of those things where people don't understand like what intensity they should be working out at. Or is it like balls to the wall? You feel like you're dying? Is it, like just going through the motions? It's one of those things that I feel like is hard to grasp until you have some experience. And there's also people who are terrified of intensity and think that if you push yourself at all, you're going to overtrain and then you're not going to see gains. And I think we basically sometimes overemphasize the possible overtraining situation because it's actually pretty hard to do. If you're working out like 7 days a week and you're training intensely, like hard, yeah, it's a lot easier to overtrain. But general population, overtraining is actually quite rare. But anyways, sorry.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
No, no, I like that you had that explanation right at the beginning because we obviously want to set the stage for what we're talking about. But I think I agree with you 1000%. And I also think that people, I feel like people oftentimes, if you're not getting results and you're actually following a plan that, like an organized plan, that they're either most likely going a little too safe or they're might be on the end of overdoing it, because I do think that the way that people sometimes are brought up in fitness can lead them to like an overtraining way, like a path down that path. Like and here's my example: people who were really into group fitness classes who aren't seeing progress. Yes, and Orange Theory too sometimes.
Yeah.
Those people who are chasing that, like, I want that demolished feeling, those are typically where we're going to see our overtraining becoming an issue, as opposed to someone who's really just kind of working out on their own and doing that kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a good way to kind of determine what someone might be doing in the gym. If I ask someone, have you ever played sports before? What is your past experience with exercise? Mm-hmm. And if they don't have any experience, chances are their intensity is probably not gonna be intense enough. If they've done CrossFit or played team sports growing up and they're like, I was a Division 1 champion, whatever, chances are they're going to probably be on the side of overtraining, just because you are trained to push past pain and everything, discomfort. So it's kind of like the psychology of it and kind of sorting out who might be more inclined to go which direction can be helpful. But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think understanding intensity, especially as a beginner, can be really tricky, especially if you've never really lifted weights before. Everything's going to feel intense. So like it is going to be hard to judge at first. But that's what kind of, I'm sure you tell people the similar thing is, like, just go until you're, for a little bit, for a month or so of your first time exercising, really focus on that connection, that mind muscle connection, and understanding how to feel your muscles when you're doing movement. Because I think sometimes people miss that, and that's why they can't grasp this idea of intensity and really pushing your muscle, not your joints and stuff to do something. And I think that's sometimes where people get confused with intensity.
Yeah, for sure. Or just not being able to differentiate between pain and discomfort. Some people who are brand new to it think that just a little discomfort is bad and that they shouldn't be feeling that. And it's like, no, that's normal. You don't want to feel pain, like sharp, sudden, ouch pain. That's pain that you don't want to work through. But more of the, wow, this burns, I don't know if I can do another rep, it's getting hard to breathe, that sort of thing. That is normal discomfort that you want to feel from pushing yourself in the gym. And that being said, I have my things to say about CrossFit, but I will say, outside of CrossFit, sports in general, but I think with weight training, CrossFit, I am thankful that it did teach me intensity. It did teach me how to push myself to like my maxes. Unfortunately, it was hard to change gears from that, but I am thankful that it did show me, whether I'm half-assing something or pushing something, because I know what it's like to be pushed to my absolute max. So it's like, I'm thankful it taught me that, regardless of everything else that I'm not a fan of. but it does have its plus sides sometimes.
Right, and I think the one thing about CrossFit, and I know we hate on CrossFit a lot here, is that it teaches you, yes, intensity. But the thing that it leaves out sometimes is that it wraps up, it almost gamifies fitness a little too much, in my opinion. So instead of like everybody feels like they're at a competition every single day, and you just can't compete every day. We're not competing every
No,
day. We're practicing
it's
every
very true.
day. And so when what I always or what I was told when I was in CrossFit actually, um, on days that we're just in the gym at CrossFit, it's a practice. As soon as you step into a competition floor, that's a different level of intensity where we remove kind of the cap. When we're working out in general everyday life, just to get a nice sweat on, or to gain muscle, lose fat, whatever we're trying to do, you always want to keep like we're never going to push past form breaking or something like that. You have to have some kind of bound. But other than that, you really want to push to the bound. So
Yeah,
I don't know if that
yeah,
made sense.
no, yeah, because like yeah, I think too it can unfortunately also train people to chase a feeling versus the effectiveness. And there is a
Mm-hmm.
point where you push yourself too much to where it's not effective anymore. It's just stressing your body out more.
Yeah.
So it's realizing that yes, you can push yourself, but also don't just chase the feeling that CrossFit gives you, because the progress, yeah, it depends on what like CrossFit box you went to or whatever. But there was never any programming towards progress. It was just kind of how can we make you feel like you did something today?
Yeah.
And that's not something you want to do either. Just chasing a feeling in your workouts, even if it's not going to get you somewhere. Like doing a different workout every day is not optimal for progress. It's optimal for entertainment purposes, but are you wanting to be entertained or are you wanting to make progress? So it's good to differentiate between intensity for entertainment purposes or intensity for optimal training. Yeah.
And one other thing that you mentioned there that I just want to hit on a little bit harder is the feeling. Like a lot of people, when they first start training, like in a more traditional like bodybuilding esque style, meaning that they're going to a box gym and doing reps and sets of a workout, is that they're like, well, I didn't sweat, so it wasn't hard enough. So then I'm going to go do a half hour of core work or run on a treadmill. That is not what we're going for. Just because
No.
you aren't sweating like you would in a CrossFit class, that doesn't mean you weren't going to the correct intensity. That
Yeah.
sweat does not define intensity at all. Like today, I had leg day. It was a hell of a workout, and I hardly broke a sweat just because that's where my body's at right now. That
Yeah.
doesn't mean I didn't have a good workout or I wasn't going
Yeah.
intense enough.
Yeah, and
Co-
it's genetic too.
Sorry.
Some people sweat more than
Yeah.
others. It's just how it is.
Right. Yeah, and your body, especially if you're getting in a really good groove with working out, is gonna be able to recover faster. So you're not gonna feel like you've been dead all day,
Yeah,
like you would sometimes after like a Saturday WOD or something, where you could like, I'm just incapacitated the rest of the day. I don't. That doesn't. That's not the only way to gauge intensity. Um, Cody, do you want to kind of describe what we're looking for in the gym to kind of help judge that you're going intense enough?
yeah. So best way that I always say to judge your own intensity is to video your sets, because sometimes something might feel hard in the moment, then you watch it back on film, and your rep speed never slows down. Like you got no expression on your face. It looks easy. It just looks seamless. Then you could have pushed harder. And it's funny because we are so good at tricking ourselves into thinking we're doing something different, or doing more than we are. So that's why our video, like you cannot lie. You can watch it back and be like, oh, okay, yeah, that looked pretty easy. So video is always number one. Even if you are not sending it to anybody, you're not putting it on social media, just take a video of your sets. If anyone is staring at you, like tell them to fuck off, because everyone's in the gym to get better, and that's all you're trying to do. And if they have a problem with that, then that's on them. But anyways, So video, but also, yeah, you want to look at your rep speed. Is it slowing down towards the end of the set? If it is not, you can go heavier than that, 100%. Are you grimacing? Are you making weird facial expressions that you don't want to be put
face on the
internet? Yeah, you're making the poop face. You make whatever faces that you would never want anyone to like take a snapshot of. If you're not making those faces, chances are you're probably not working hard enough. So those are like probably the ways that I tend to gauge intensity. But how about you?
Yeah, similar. I also like using the mirrors a lot. If you're at a gym that has mirrors, I can usually catch myself making a terrible face, at least at the end of the last few reps. But also, I think again that mind muscle connection always helps when you can really feel the burn in that muscle. That's always a good sign. Also, I think analyzing your results and your progress can be a good indicator of if you need to address intensity more. So like if, for example, if you can't see the progressive overload happening, like, so if you have stayed at the weight that you're at for a couple months, maybe we can look at intensity, or something along those lines.
Yeah.
You're not getting extra rep. You're not moving up weight. Sorry.
Yeah. And there's also like intensity scales. So we've got RIR and RPE, basically the same, but like backwards. So, reps in reserve. How many reps do you think you could have done after you stopped? So if it's like a RIR 2, then you feel like you could have maybe done 2 more reps. So some plans will tell you to stop at a specific time, like stop when you hit RIR 2, or RPE is rating of perceived exertion. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how hard was that set for you? You can, scale 1 through 10. RIR is awesome, but I think it's for more advanced lifters, because if you're just beginning, you don't know how to gauge your own intensity. So I don't tend to use that scale with beginners. I'll just be like, take this last set to complete failure, or I'll tell people to practice taking sets to failure in a safe way. So with isolation movements, I'm not talking about squats or bench press. Like, fail at your bicep curls first. Figure out what that feels like to where your muscle physically cannot do 1 more rep. And then you start to understand what going to failure is, what real intensity is, and you're able to do it in a safe way. So it's just kind of one of those things you learn over time a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. And one other thing is form breakdown. So like when you notice you can't do something without cheating a movement, for example. So like if you're doing, say, a lat pull down and you're really cranking back to get that last couple reps, that means that your form is breaking down and you're no longer doing the movement in a controlled manner. That means that you've like hit that point, and you should probably just give it a quits. I'm not someone who ever really suggests that beginners do the half rep outs or anything, just because I think it can lead to some bad habits. But some people like doing the half reps at the end.
Yeah,
but
I think there's place and time for those things. It's just more advanced movements where you got like forced reps, but generally that's stuff you're doing with a training partner. And not a lot of people have training partners and stuff too, but there's a whole bunch of other tools that get thrown in that are like intensifiers once you're more advanced with training. But when you're just getting started, keep it simple. Just doing straight sets, practicing going to failure on safe isolation movements, or even like leg extension is a great place to practice going to failure, because it's going to burn like hell and it's going to suck, but you're going to be safe.
I also like doing to failure on lateral extensions, usually because you just can't go anymore. Like your side delts will just be like, nope, they're not there anymore. And then you feel like a little bird who can't flap his wings. So I think that's always a good one to go for. And I do want to say that there is no shame in going heavy for a set and then being like, nope, that was a little too much.
Yeah.
It's okay to be like, I only got 4. I was supposed to get at least 8. I'm gonna knock it down and just focus on some other way to make this more intense. Because I think that's also something we could mention is you can make your lifts more intense. To say you can't move up to that next weight or rep, even you're at the cap. Say I'm doing lateral raises, repping out 15, no problem, but going up a little bit would be disastrous. One way that you can do that is we could use some of these intensifiers. Do you want to talk about those a little bit?
Yeah. So drop sets are, one of the more popular ways. There's also rest pause sets. So I actually prefer, I think, rest pause over drop. Drop sets are great for lateral raises specifically because, say, you're stuck between weights and there's one of those movements that is very sticky and stubborn and it's hard to go up in weight on lateral raises. So, say you're doing 25s and like you want to try 30s and you're not sure if you're able to get 15 with 30, but say you get 10 with 30, and then you can't do any more. You could drop down to a lower weight and then finish out that set. That's a really good, that's a way that I suggest, clients or whatever do it when they're stuck on lateral raises and they've been on the same weight for months or something. Rest pause. Let's say you're doing the same thing. You want to do the lateral raises with 30 pounds and you only get to 10. You can rest for like 5 seconds, give it a pause, and then keep going. So it gives you just like a little bit more, but you're still staying at that heavier weight. So sometimes that is preferable, but you're just taking like a little pause. So 2 helpful ways to kind of push through plateaus if you want to.
Yeah. I also like doing controlled negatives and stuff like that. Like, so slowing down the tempo of movements is another way to make it kind of more intense without going up in weight. And I think sometimes that can be really helpful for folks, especially if they get stuck at a particular part of the movement.
Yeah, that's good. That's good one too. Yeah, like really controlling the weight and slowing it down is a unexpected way of making it intensified. You wouldn't think that going slower would mean more intensity, but sometimes it does. Time under tension.
Shoot,
That's one thing.
Time under tension, it can be a bitch. If I'm being honest, I don't know. I used to try to. What was it that I was doing? Tempoed for a long time. It's gone forever. But yeah, it can really make a big change, especially if you are doing like 3-second up and down. Oh, leg extensions was what I like to do a lot of tempo work on. But yeah, a good way to make it feel heavy.
Yeah, and there's supersets, but I tend to like supersets are great as a time saver, but not as much, I would say, for being optimal. Because resting and letting your muscles like recover between sets to get stronger and build more muscle, I feel like is pretty necessary. Supersets have their place in time for sure, but it's not something I would give to someone to be like, let's up the intensity. It would be something I give to someone who's short on time and needs to move through a workout quickly, but still have it be efficient enough to reach their goals, kind of thing. So, yeah.
One thing I think we did skip over a little bit is kind of why intensity is so important. Maybe we described a little bit of why you should be intense, but what we're trying to do here with this intensity is really rip apart these muscles on us like a cellular level. It sounds violent, it sounds nitty and gritty, but what we're trying to do is cause damage so that our bodies build it back up.
Micro tears, people. Micro tears.
Micro tears.
Like
we don't want you tearing your muscles.
No.
Little baby tears.
So yeah,
ones you can't see.
Yeah, that's the soreness you might feel. And it's not to say you're chasing soreness. That's not something to chase either. But you have to challenge your muscle and give it a reason to adapt. And if you are not, then it's not going to. So it's hard because you're not just chasing soreness, but it is kind of an indicator that you did some, you know. So it's like that's why everyone likes to feel sore sometimes, because you're like, yeah, I worked that, I worked the shit out of that. But at the same time, you can get sore from massage, you can get sore from bowling if it's something that you haven't done in a long time, and it doesn't mean that it was you built muscle doing it. It just means it was like a new stimulus for your body. So you just have to gauge your soreness. It's like a place and time kind of thing. Is it are you using soreness as a gauge solely, or is it just a little reminder the next day being like, okay, yeah, cool, I did that right then.
Yeah, exactly. And you can also use the pump sometimes. That can be a little trickier because the pump has a lot to do with all your other stuff that's going on in your body. But sometimes um, the idea behind that pump is that it's blood rushing to repair whatever you're working. So
Yeah.
sometimes that can be used. And if you don't know what the pump is, it's that nice swell that you get when you've been working out really hard. So I got a really nasty chest pump on Monday. It felt great.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the same reason that blood flow restriction training is a thing, because it creates a bigger pump. Therefore, it does allow you to build muscle with like less weight. But again, time and place for it. It's great when you're injured. That's what was suggested for me on leg day, to use blood flow restriction training. So like these wraps, you wrap it on your legs, because you can get basically more efficient with lifting less weight. So I'm not just tearing up my knee even more, but they're really uncomfortable. So yeah, use at your own risk, because it sucks. But yeah.
Right. And with all of these kind of intensity ideas, you want to start with like the least complicated one first. So when we talked about these, I would follow them in the order that we almost talked about. So these more advanced trainings, they're not going to be the golden bullet for you, right? So this is when you already have everything dialed in. For example, when I first started bodybuilding, I had heard a podcast about blood restriction, and I had asked Cody about it like immediately, because this was like when I was a little brand new baby. And I don't know if you remember this, but you're like, no, just focus on what you're supposed to be focusing on. And I'm like, fair point. That's and that's kind of an overarching principle that I would recommend as almost a rule of thumb. Start simple first and wear out all those factors, features, tactics, and then move into these more complicated and more advanced techniques.
Right. And for example, like I didn't touch rest pause sets or really drop sets or blood flow restriction training until, I mean, blood flow restriction specifically this year, but only because I had an injury. So it wasn't like this is going to make my legs bigger. It was just like, I need to find a way to make it work. So that's why it's like keeping it simple. I kept it very simple for a very long time. And it's just about the consistency and the intensity. And that's going to get you really, really far, to where to be fucking honest, a lot of people don't even get to the point where they need to consider intensifiers. Like it's very much so at very advanced. So.
And that's a good thing. It's good that your body doesn't need things to keep up your progress. It's good that you can keep it simple, because I really do truly think if people just lift intensely, consistently, you're going to hit most of your goals with just that. Withholding food and all those kind of different factors. But in the gym, if you're really trying to make progress, get stronger, gain muscle, even lose fat, if you're keeping your workouts intense, that's half of the freaking ball game.
Yeah, most definitely. I think that's the biggest lesson takeaway. Like, keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate it. Just focus on being consistent. If consistent intensity is your main focus, you're on the right track. So, yeah.
Awesome. I think that we did. I think that kind of covers what I had, my thoughts on intensity. Did you have anything else?
No, I think that's about it.
Yeah, and if you have if you guys have any questions or anything, feel free to drop them below or send them to us. We can always cover those on the podcast.
Yeah, you can comment on Spotify now. So
Ooh,
by all means, leave us some comments. And you
comment
too.
away.
Keep it nice though. We're fragile. Just kidding.
We are. We're sensitive guys. Emo all the way. It wasn't a phase, Mom.
Should I hop into the power talk here?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So the quote that I chose about 10 seconds ago. The world as we have created it is a process of our thinking. It cannot be changed without changing our thinking. So essentially perspective, right? You know, it makes all the difference on your perspective and outlook on things. And sometimes it can be hard when you've got a lot of negative stuff going around in the news and etc. But again, it's just like no matter what is going on, even if it's the most positive thing, if you're thinking negatively in any way, shape, or form, everything's going to seem and feel negative to you. So I'm not saying being ignorantly positive is always the answer. It's just like check yourself sometimes. How much of it can be controlled by your thought process? Yeah. So yeah, that's all.
I love that quote. And can I piggyback off you for 1 second about it?
Sure. Go for it.
I just finished a book called Soundtracks, about overthinking, and that's kind of what it talked about a lot. And the book helped me tremendously. But the idea here was that the soundtrack you play in your mind, so your inner dialogue, is the filter you view the world through. So making sure that your soundtrack is in line with what you want to feel out in the world, you're going to be kind of unable to stop overthinking if you're unable to change your soundtrack. But very good book. Highly recommend.
Yeah, sounds good. I must check that out. I keep meaning to check it out, and I overthink it, so I can't. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that's okay. It's a quick read. It's a very short book.
Okay, so good audiobook listen for a walk or something.
Hell yeah. After you're finished with the lab and leaving us a review, of course.
Right. Yeah. So no listening to that audiobook until you're done with this. But until then, I guess we'll end it so y'all can listen to other things besides this. Yeah. So thank you, everyone, for listening. If you feel so inclined, please leave us a comment or review. We are on Apple Podcasts as well. So if you can leave us a review there, review on Spotify, comments, wherever you want, we would be very thankful for that.
All right. Until next time, y'all.
Peace out.